This has got to be the worst basketball game on the Sega Genesis. Now, this might not be the worst basketball video game I've ever played, but it sure comes close. Team USA Basketball on the Sega Genesis is a special kind of bad. Yeah, you just know I'm dying to talk about this piece of junk again. Now, some of you guys already know that I had an unsuccessful playthrough of this game on this channel like a few weeks back, but I was looking back at this again and I discovered that there's so much more to talk about that I didn't talk about already, so let's dig in. As you probably already know, this game comes from the old EA Sports NBA Playoff series on the Sega Genesis. If you've played the other games in the series, you're familiar with the slow animations and the idiosyncratic play control. I mean, I can understand the really slow animations when you're talking about the DOS version, which was actually pretty advanced for like 1989. The funny thing though is that the original Lakers vs. Celtics on the Genesis is actually faster than Team USA Basketball. This is just an ugly game with poor graphics, a horrible frame rate, and really bad play control. But it actually gets worse than that. Now, I know that this is hard to believe, but this game is actually even worse than it looks. You see, if you were a kid back in fall 1992 and you were really into basketball, you knew all about the Dream Team. Everybody knew about the Dream Team. This was the famous US Olympic basketball team. And so if you saw this game, the Team USA basketball game for sale, you'd want to get it. You'd tell your mom, we gotta have it, I gotta play it. And if you did that, I feel really sorry for you because you were really setting yourself up for disappointment, especially if you had never played an EA Sports basketball game on the Sega Genesis before. Look, I've got to put at least some of the blame on the video game magazines. GamePro gave this game a stellar review back in September 1992, which is nothing short of insane. They tell you that the graphics deserve a silver medal, which is true if you ignore like the frame rate, the animation, and everything else. But the real key is this section on formidable opponents, especially when they talk about Angola kicking your butt. Now, think about this. Could you imagine what would have happened if Angola had beaten the Dream Team in real life? I mean, you wouldn't just have been surprised, right? You would have felt ripped off. The Dream Team was supposed to be the team, the best team in the world, the best team of all time. Well, I did manage to beat Angola when I had my playthrough, but we didn't look very good doing it. As you can see, your offensive teammates don't move around at all, and freaking Michael Jordan misses wide open jump shots. Yeah, that's right. In this game, Michael Jordan, the greatest of all time, he can't hit a wide open jumper from 10 feet out. I'm serious. You will always have a horrible time shooting in this game, and your shooting percentage will always be impossibly bad. Now, there's absolutely nothing you can do on defense in this game, so you might as well not try. Your best hope is that the other team takes a bunch of stupid outside jump shots and that you somehow manage to get the rebound. At the end of my game against Angola, I won by 8. We shot over 50%, which is actually the best I've ever done at this game. But Angola still shot about 62%. Yeah, they shot 62%. 62%, that's crazy. Having one team shoot 62% is a sign that the game is fundamentally broken. The Dream Team in real life did not shoot 62%. I'm dead serious. The United States was clearly the best team in the 1992 Olympic basketball tournament, that's for sure. The Dream Team managed to shoot a whopping 57.8% in the tournament, which was by far the best among all 12 teams. And notice that they also shot 40% from three-point territory, which is insane. You see, in real life, Michael Jordan actually hits those wide-open jump shots. That's a good sign for him. And it was pretty easy for the Dream Team to score three-pointers when they were wide open in transition. Plus, the Dream Team's performances were full of plays like this, a steal followed by an uncontested fast break. It's almost like that game wasn't fair, right? And yeah, the truth is that it wasn't. But there is a good reason why they pushed so hard to allow United States professional players to play in the Olympics. You see, there was a lot of bad blood, and some of you might remember this. Of course, the United States dominated the early years of Olympic basketball, and most of these games weren't even close. The United States had never even lost a game, not until it played against the Soviet Union in the final game in 1972. But the USSR had a good team in 1972, and it had a couple of tricks up its sleeve. That was the famous game with 3 different endings where the officials kept giving the Soviets chances to score the last shot until they finally scored. Now, to be frank with you, this was a defensive meltdown by the United States. But, the officiating was simply awful in that game. Anyway, that's where the bad blood started, and then the bad blood stuck around. It's kind of funny, a lot of us have forgotten about this stuff, and most of the time, if you're like my age, most of this you probably don't even know about. The USA did win the gold medal in 1976, the USA boycotted the Olympics in 1980, and then came 1984. In 1984, Coach Bobby Knight put out a ridiculously good team, and remember that this is before they could use professional players. And seriously, just having Michael Jordan on your offense itself is a cheat code. I mean, none of these games were even close, and Jordan was so much better than everyone else, it's not even funny. And then there was also Patrick Ewing, who had just led Georgetown to the NCAA championship. This USA team was generally thought of as the greatest team in Olympic basketball history, until the Dream Team, that is. So the 1984 team was great, legendary, and then came 1988, and it was really the 1988 Summer Olympics in Seoul that inspired the United States to really push to allow its professional players to play in the Olympic Games. The 1988 team was also full of future NBA All-Stars, but it wasn't quite the same without MJ. The USSR got off to a strong start and kept hitting these outside jump shots. And the Americans played really poor defense, allowing inexcusable transition baskets like this one after made shots. The USSR wound up winning the gold medal, and the United States won one of those frustrating bronze medals. That's right, the United States has won the bronze medal before, even without LeBron James on the team. Anyway, it's not entirely clear that the United States' poor performance in 1988 was the reason for the emergence of the Dream Team, but I would be really surprised if there were any other reason. In late October 1988, there were rumors that FIBA would vote to allow professional players to compete in the Olympics in the future. The media went nuts talking about a possible team with Magic Johnson, Karl Malone, Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing, Clyde Drexler, and so on. And, well, you know how FIBA wound up voting. Though you might be surprised to learn that the US representative in FIBA voted against allowing professional players to take part. Yeah, I just don't get that one. Doesn't make sense to me. Like maybe we were trying to be polite or humble or something like that. Anyway, we got our big guys in the Olympics, sure, but we still had to win the games. So the thing you have to remember is that the United States in 1988 actually had a really good team. The team lost because they played really crappy basketball. It's not because they weren't NBA caliber players. Of course, the American media turned the whole thing into a spectacle, especially NBC. The newspapers had a good time trying to predict which players would be included and which players would be left out. And of course, it was this Sports Illustrated front cover in February 1991 that gave the team the name Dream Team. In all seriousness, we have never seen anything quite like the hype around the Dream Team, not in any sport and not in any country. So everybody expected that the Dream Team was going to show up, it was going to start kicking butt and taking names, and of course that's what happened in real life. But there was a little bit of worry there that something might fall apart. Okay, so the Dream Team completely demolished the opposition during its warm-up game, sure. Actually, those games were so lopsided that some people in the media started to complain. Of course, the truth is that the actual competitive games weren't much closer.
And here's Drexler, that's worth waiting for.
The thing is, though, that the United States in 1992 did get a little bit lucky. So the so-called unified team, which represented the former Soviet Union, played pretty well in 1992. They weren't undefeated, but they were kind of close to. They lost once to Puerto Rico. And so while the United States was making Lithuania look really horrible, the unified team looked like a sure bet to beat Croatia. Croatia, in white, trailed the unified team by 6 points with less than a minute remaining in the semifinal. The unified team had worked the ball inside like crazy all game long. But it was Drazen Petrovic, legitimately one of the most clutch players of all time, who brought Croatia back from the brink. With just seconds left and the lead down to 1, Russia's best free throw shooter looked like he forgot how to shoot. And then came one of the most controversial foul calls in the history of the Olympics. I've watched this dozens of times now and I just don't see the foul. Nobody even touched Petrovic. Yeah, we never talk about that foul call. That's a ridiculous foul call, by the way. I mean, the defenders are nowhere near him. It's crazy. I'm not even sure, by the way, that NBC broadcast that game here in the United States. But you know already that a guy like Petrovic wasn't going to miss a free throw in this kind of situation. And so Croatia had a 1-point lead. The unified team should have won it with a layup here, but they somehow missed. They had one last shot at it with 1 second left, but it was short. Now, I don't need to tell you guys this, right? The United States made Croatia look like a JV team in the gold medal game. We don't even need to look at the highlights, right? I mean, you can guess what happened. You can close your eyes and you can see it. But it might have been a little bit difficult, and it might have been a little bit different and maybe a little bit harder if the United States had to face Russia once again in the final. Now, I was wondering if I'd have to face Russia when I gave it a try in this game. We didn't see them in the group stage, and notice that this game has 7 teams in each group, not 6 like in real life. Of course, since we couldn't hit a single shot, we lost to really bad teams like China. We shot a whopping 32% against China. China, meanwhile, shot 74%. Yeah, it really pisses me off. You see, what I've been telling you about here, the Dream Team, really is a great story, right? I can see like making the game challenging, right? That makes sense because you don't want to have a video game where it's like you bought it and then you beat it. It's really easy. That's like playing freaking Magic Johnson's Fast Break on the NES, right? But once you like play this game, you'll realize that the difficulty is a little bit high, right? You got to allow the kids to, hit some shots every once in a while, right? So it turns out that you're supposed to actually read the manual to figure out what to do in the other games of this series. You see, the game is focused on these marquee shots, which are impossible to block and which is really the only way to actually score points. The only way to do a fantastic dunk like this is to get your guy on the right spot of the floor and push the A button. The only way to know where the marquee shots are is to have the manual or to try pushing A on every possible spot on the court. And yeah, there are different marquee spots for different players. So some people tell me that this is a good idea, as is usually the case, right? Like you get these smart Alex in the comment section who are like, oh no, you're doing this wrong, you don't understand this, you suck at this game, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, whatever. In this case, this game sucks. It just totally sucks. It's stupid, right? Why can't you run up to the basket to make a slam dunk? Why do you have to go backwards to dunk, right? There's no other basketball game that's like this. So if you pick the wrong spot, you'll just shoot a jump shot instead of busting out a great move. And there is literally no way to drive the ball and make a shot. You just shoot jump shots instead. So imagine if Scottie Pippen were forced to shoot here instead of dunk because he was on the wrong square, right? That would totally suck. The funny thing is that even the 8-bit Tecmo NBA basketball for the NES lets you drive with the ball and dunk. There's none of that stupid marquee shot ridiculousness. But the worst part, the very worst part of Team USA basketball on the Genesis is that the manual doesn't tell you where those stupid marquee shots are, right? You just have to know like which spot to go to on the court. And so it'll drive you nuts to figure this out. You got to play the game over and over again, and you got to hope that the computer defenders aren't like standing on the right place, because then you can't go there. You have to like stand there and dribble the ball or something. It's horrible. I'm not even joking. I've got the manual. There are marquee shots in this game, of course. In fact, there's even a list of like what the players will do. But there's no list of where you're supposed to go to take the stupid shot. Now, the worst part of this game, absolute worst part, is that if you want to play the Olympics, you have to put the game on the hardest setting, right? You can't do it on an easier setting. It won't let you. You absolutely have to make it on the hardest mode, right? You want to play an easy mode, you can, but only an exhibition game. You can only play one game at a time. So who wants to do that, right? What's wrong with EA Sports? Why did they design it like this, right? I'm playing Team USA basketball. I want to win the Olympics. Why do I have to play it on impossible mode? And it's not like those marquee moves are really exciting either. The animation in this game is so slow that it's a joke. The problem is that it's impossible to score points if you don't do that stupid marquee thing. And it's impossible to play defense no matter what you do, so you're just screwed. Anyway, I really wanted to see at least a good ending for this game, or at least get close to it, but it just didn't happen. In my playthrough, we wound up tied for 5th place, but we didn't make the knockout round because we had lost earlier to Croatia. And as fate would have it, Russia wound up winning the whole thing. See, what did I tell you? I told you that the real-life Dream Team would have been different if Croatia had lost to Russia. Anyway, those of you who are old school already know this fact, right? When the going gets tough, you gotta get the power. But in this case, we're not talking Nintendo power since it's not a Nintendo game, but we'll get the next best thing. It turns out you can skip straight to the winning medal ceremony if you've got the right password. There are tons of these stupid things floating around among the few people that actually care about this awful game. Anyway, once you figure out the way to enter the password correctly, you can skip ahead. Look at this, we won every freaking game. And we beat the Netherlands too, and by the way, the Netherlands were not even in the Olympics in basketball in 1992. Anyway, we're the champions, and now my life is complete. But I mean, that doesn't do the game justice, right? It's kind of cheating to just like skip ahead to the final medal ceremony. And by the way, like one of the signs that this game really sucks is that it gives you the passcode after you've played the last game right before that ceremony. And if you lose the last game, it still gives you the passcode. So now you can go and see that you lost again, right? You can like remember that for all time. I mean, it's just so poorly designed. Anyway, I did the other code next, right, to go play the final game against the Netherlands. And, you know, I was thinking, hey, I've practiced this game a lot. Maybe all that practice means that I can actually play a competitive game. You know what really sucks? You have to go back to the menu after you put in your password. It's like EA doesn't know how a password system actually works. Anyway, we started this important game on the wrong foot and it never got better. I was able to find the secret spot a few times, but seriously, the dunks in this game suck. I tried a few outside shots when we were way down, but we kept missing them. We lost in the end 43-21. We shot 39% from the field, which is absolutely pathetic for, you know, the Dream Team. Meanwhile, the Netherlands shot 91%. Yeah, they shot 91%, freaking 91%, man. You've got to be kidding me. It's ridiculous. Anyway, that's why I say this is the worst basketball game on the Genesis by far, right? This is one of the worst basketball games I've ever played. It's a complete stain on the memory of the Dream Team. I know that this game is kind of rare, right? The truth is that they sold it for only like 3 months at the end of 1992, probably because they knew that it was total slop and like if a lot of people bought it, they would hate EA and they'd want a refund, right? But the thing is, if you have a copy of this game, do me a favor, destroy it, burn it, because this game does not deserve to exist.